The ideas in my head determine the actions I'm going to take. Right? That's how life works, right? You think about something, it's in there, and you do it. So now I want you to think about, what do you believe about weight loss? Because whatever those ideas are, they're driving your behavior. So before we begin today, we're talking about the myths that exist out there. I want you to realize that those myths exist to accomplish a goal, right? And these myths make somebody money. It's either a food company, pharma, medical, the diet fitness industry, or maybe a supplement company. But somebody is making money from keeping us believing these lies that actually help us to stay fat, right? So they start in our mind, and they're impacting what we do, even on keto and carnivore. And that's why I'm talking about this today. Because I realize that in my conversations with people, I still hear these old ideas. And some of these old ideas are so deep inside of us, like really deep, that we don't even realize that this is a myth put out by a company that's purely there to keep us eating their garbage or in their system, that ultimately causes us to struggle with our weight and not be happy with our life. So there's 8 myths I want to talk about today. And then there's 5 things that we should be actually thinking, like living our life. Like there are maxims of life that we should be living and thinking and living. So let's go through the 8 myths. The first one being, you're lazy. You're not actually trying to lose weight. And obviously we know that this one helps the weight loss industry. Like it helps the fitness world. But can I point out that that's not even where this thing started? Like, it's food companies that put this idea out. And if you read the book, I'm going to link it below. There's a book, and I'm not going to remember the name of it, but Michael Moss's book. He talks about how it was food companies that decided to say it's all about how much exercise you're doing and not about the food you're eating. And that has led to this idea that we lazy people, right? We're just not actually doing enough exercise or trying hard enough to lose weight. And that's why we're living the pathetic scenario that we're living, right? Because we're just not trying hard enough. And that's simply not true, Wellness Warrior. And I can tell you that it's not true multiple different ways. So let's start with the first one, which is that a typical standard American diet meal causes us to overeat. It causes it. Why? Because there's such a high carb count that our body has no choice but to put those carbohydrates away, or they would be toxic in our system. And then once it's done that, well, now we're hungry because all the energy got put away. So this beautiful meal that they're telling you to eat, that's, multicolored fruits and vegetables, and make sure you get the rainbow, and is causing you to eat in a way that your body cannot even immediately use that energy. And I say immediately, our body never immediately uses the energy, but it does put the energy, some of that energy, towards good, use. And it can't do that because it needs to put it away because it's going to harm you. Yes, your body uses some of it, I know, but not in the way that we think. It's using it in a way of, oh my goodness, not in a way of, yay, there's energy. And that's what we want, right? These sweet foods that we are eating, we know those ones are high in carbohydrate. They're high in sugar. That's obvious because they taste sweet to us. But what about those starchy foods, those salty snacks that don't actually taste sweet? Again, we eat in a way that causes our body to store, right? We eat bread and chips and pasta and pizza. Those things don't taste sweet. But hamburgers cause our body to store, which means that we're putting on fat even when we're trying to lose weight, because we're going to have that, very healthy sandwich with, a lot of lettuce and tomatoes and just a little bit of cheese and there's not much fat there. thinking that that's healthy. We're going to have that salad with, the dressing that's a bunch of oils, not even the quality oils, and it has sugar in it. There's no protein there. So we are doing things that causes our body to intake, store, and then push us to go get real food. Most SAD diets, so most standard American diets, their meals are high fat and high carb, which, by the way, is the recipe for weight gain. High fat, high carb, your body has to store both, because when it's in storage mode, it's in storage mode. So, pizza, high fat, high carb. Hamburger and fries, high fat, high carb. Pasta, high fat, high carb. Well, depending on the sauce you put, but if you put a meat sauce, high fat, high carb. So many things that we eat end up being, when we're eating a normal meal, not a diet meal, a normal meal, high fat, high carb. But even when we do those diet meals and we're putting salad dressing that has oil in it, we've just increased our fat count, even though the carbs are still, we're constantly doing high fat, high carb. That causes weight gain. These myths that we think are helping us to lose weight. The second myth I want to talk about is calories in, calories out. Right? Our body treats sugar differently than it treats fat. That's just the truth. We know this from Dr. Fung. We know this from Dr. Berry. We know this from Dr. Westman. We know this from Dr. Berg. I could just keep going. Every single doctor. We know this from Dr. Mason. We know this from Dr. Bickman. I can just keep going. Dr. Chaffee. Because it's different in the body. When you eat a cookie, your body does very different things with that than when you eat bacon. Even if it's the same amount of energy, if I were to take the same amount of cookie that would be equivalent in energy to the same amount of bacon, my body does something very different with that. The insulin response of my body is different. And since insulin determines whether we're in storage mode or we are allowing our body to do healthy, happy things with that, right? A normal insulin rise does not block your body from doing healthy things with the food that you intake. A spike in insulin does. We keep putting so much carb, so much pasta, rice, potatoes on our plate with our meals, bread on our plate with our meals. Our lunches are surrounded by bread, potatoes at every meal. We keep putting so much carbohydrate in our meals that we end up in the story where we absolutely are in a spike and therefore are absolutely going to be in fat storage mode for the meal that we think is doing us some kind of favor. It's not. All right. We don't actually have access to the energy that we eat like immediately after meal. And our body needs to process all of that stuff. So we eat it. It has to go through our digestive system before we can have access to it. So that's a piece of the puzzle. But if we get put into fat storage mode, all the ketones our body would have been producing, that would be beautiful, clean energy for our brain, don't get produced because we've raised our insulin and our body is dealing with carbohydrates. So I really want us to understand that point. Myth number 3, we need carbohydrates. Right? We need them to survive. Our brain will not function if we don't have carbohydrates. That's just blatantly untrue. Of course, we need them. We don't need to eat them. So let me be clear on that. We don't need to eat carbohydrates. And this is where I find it really super interesting, because I think the fact that we need carbohydrates, companies translate it into we need to eat carbohydrates. And that's the myth. Because our body, because we need carbohydrates, makes the carbohydrates that we need. So if I were to never eat a carb, like what I understand Dr. Baker does, he doesn't eat carbohydrates. So what does that mean? He doesn't even drink like coffee. He doesn't take in carbohydrates. So how is he still surviving all these years later? It's because his body is making the carbohydrates that he needs. So since there are no essential carbohydrates, why are we constantly being fed this lie that we have to eat the rainbow of vegetables? We have to eat the rainbow of fruit. Why are we being fed that lie? Because eating those things pulls us into the sweet world, because fruits and vegetables taste sweet-ish, right? So some of them are blatantly tasting sweet, and some of them, if you take the amount of sugar down that you were normally eating, like I did, and then you eat these things, oh wow, can I taste them being sweet? Why am I not tasting a potato as sweet 10 years ago, but I'm tasting a potato as sweet, or broccoli as sweet, or all these things as sweet now? Because I've stopped eating the higher sugar apples, bananas, the higher sugar peppers. I've stopped eating the higher sugar processed food. And now all of a sudden when I eat these things, it's like, yeah, like cashews taste sweet in my... Cashews never used to taste sweet to me. They do now. You don't need to eat carbohydrates. What you do need to eat, what our body cannot produce all the fats that we need. And our body cannot produce all the protein that we need. And what's interesting is that, obviously, let's break this down to even more basics, because I want to make sure I blow this myth out of the water. Obviously, we need to eat something. I cannot go through my everyday expecting my body to only work on recycling, because then I wouldn't be intaking anything, so zero energy, or nutrients. If I took in zero nutrients, I would pass, obviously. So I have to eat something. So here's where this myth messes with us. If I think carbohydrates are essential to eat, then I don't put my energy, effort, time into making sure I get enough protein and fat, because I think this is where we're being pointed, right? This is the myth that, oh my gosh, you need these things. Protein and fat's what keeps me healthy, not carbohydrates. Proteins and fat is what I cannot actually make in my body. I can make the carbohydrates that I need inside of my own body. Once I understand that piece of information, well, then I can put my attention on making sure that I eat enough protein and fat to build a healthy me, to fuel this healthy me, and I don't need to worry about how much carbohydrate gets on my plate, which means that all of a sudden, if I'm actually doing that, I'm not so focused on carbohydrates. And that's bad for food companies. That's bad for the fitness industry. That's bad for pharma and supplements. Why? Because if I'm not focused there, I'm not being pulled into this world of sweet that keeps me overeating, Wellness Warrior. This world of sweet keeps me overeating because it keeps me chasing, because it keeps me in that system that we don't even ever need to touch. Okay, myth number 4. Fat is bad. Fat makes you fat. This is a newer one, but it sure got pushed really hard. In my lifetime, that idea has pushed so much of my behavior, right? But what I can tell you is that in the last 5 years, I've been allowing myself to eat more fat than I have ever in the 45 years before that. And guess what didn't happen? I didn't get fat. Now, let's be clear. I ate healthy fat. So I didn't eat processed seed oils and vegetable oil and margarine. And no, that stuff's garbage. That's going to kill you. What I ate was healthy fat that came along with the protein source that I was eating. If I added fat, I added butter, lard. Butter and lard. I'm trying to think if you have any other fats. I mean, yes, at the very, 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 very beginning, I was using also, and I still use today, avocado oil if I'm making mayonnaise, and olive oil if I'm making mayonnaise. I was also using coconut oil at one point. I've stopped using that because I seem to be reacting to it. Everybody's mileage will vary. I'm reacting to it again. Coconut oil coming from a plant, Violet reacts to it. Interesting. What's your scenario? Do you find yourself reacting to certain plants? And let me just say, when I was a kid, I loved eating coconut. My mom would give us coconut in different things that she would make. And when she was making those things, we would get a piece to eat just like that. I loved eating it. Did not know I had a problem with it. So you get all the other stuff out of your life that's bothering you. And now all of a sudden I'm seeing, interesting. Coconut oil is bothering me. So we don't know until we know, right? But it's been 5 years that I've been eating normal amounts of fat. I can't even call it high fat because it's not high. I just eat the fat that comes along with my whatever protein. And if I'm frying something, I fry it in a healthy fat. So we know that our body needs fat to build cells. Like all of this stuff is cells, right? Everything, first of all, that you can touch yourself, it's cells, but also your internal body, everything is cells. Our body needs fat to build those cells, and it needs protein to build those cells, and it needs protein and fat to make every hormone, everything in our body is built with protein and fat, right? Carbohydrates is an energy for sure, but it doesn't build anything. So like it doesn't, you need it, of course, but what you really need to focus on, Wellness Warrior, is making sure that you're getting all the amino acid profile that you need to make sure that you can actually build these things properly, right? As 50 years ago, we were not so focused on being low fat because we were eating better, we were eating healthier. And the people walking around the planet 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 70 years ago were not as obese as they are today. And it drives me crazy that we don't see that this change happened in such a small period of time that it has to be related to something that was changed recently, right? And what was changed recently? This push for low fat. So the other thing that's damaging is that not only did we have the push for low fat, this myth allowed companies to come in and say that, well, clearly it had to be the animal fat that was causing us to gain weight. And so they're going to give us these light margarines and these light, again, light because they're calorie low, but they're harming our bodies, right? There's a huge problem that we ignore when it comes to the low fat push, which is that processed seed oils, vegetable oil, margarine are highly toxic. Dr. Berry pointed it out in the video that he made where he said, get your high carb food away. Some food is better than no food, but he clearly stated, throw every seed oil, every vegetable oil, every margarine, throw it in the garbage. That's poisoning people. He made that distinction. It's not even food, is what that means to me. It's not even food. Why are we still using it? I know that I was reading something in the same book, actually by Michael Moss, and I'm going to try to remember the link below. He talked about the fact that companies that switched from lard and tallow over to these processed oils at the very beginning were having fires because the oil would spontaneously combust at certain points if you left it around. I mean, does that not scare you? It scares me. It scares me to know that if you don't clean up those things properly, like just they actually spontaneously combust, like the products that I use to finish wood and stuff that like for outside, because that does spontaneously combust too if you leave it in a ball and you don't let it dry out properly, right? If you leave your towel, like it will set on fire. And this was happening in restaurants where they were cooking our food in this stuff. I'm not even going to call it oil, in this stuff. Wellness Warrior, I have a favor to ask you. If you have improved your health, mental health, or weight through eating healthy keto, please look in the description. There's a form to fill out so that we can do an interview and you can share your story. I want to help more people, and I think that together we can help people to understand that keto is more than a diet. It's a way of life that gives you your life back. I'm not a special snowflake. I know that you also have lived amazing things. So let's change this together. The form is below. I'm not even going to call it oil. In this stuff, I don't understand how they're allowed to keep feeding us this stuff. It's scary to me that they're allowed to keep feeding us this stuff. And it should be scary to you that they're allowed to keep feeding us this garbage. But The other problem with these damn oils is that they cause inflammation. So when I look back on my life and I see where my hip was inflamed, and I'm thinking, well, wow, I had a double whammy happening. I had the oils that I was not only cooking with, the oils that were in the salad dressing that I was buying, the oils that was in the mayonnaise that I was buying, the oils that were by any processed food that I was buying that was packed in oil was in, all of it canola or some kind of other, vegetable or seed or whatever oil. The margarine that I was buying because it's heart healthy instead of buying butter for my toast. Everywhere I turned in my diet, I could see it. And it was impacting my health, right? Same like you guys. And we add on top of that this layer that I found out that, carbohydrates cause inflammation, which was where I started my story. So I had a double whammy. The processed oils, the carbohydrates. I'm limping like if I'm 90 years old when I was only 46 at the time. And my hip problems disappeared when I did what? When I removed carbohydrates and, when I lowered carbohydrates. I didn't even eliminate them. I lowered carbohydrates and eliminated seed oils. And my hip problem was gone in 3 months. And I actually had to do the math on that to figure out exactly when that happened, because initially, so I started April 20th, 2018, my keto lifestyle, or at least I tried to. Anyways, I wasn't doing it right. So can I just put that out there to you? I had success. I wasn't doing it right, but I started April 18th, 2018. And by the time I was on vacation in July, around the week of the 18th, that same year, my hip problem was no longer there. Like, I was walking normally. I was able to do the activities with the kids on our vacation. Wellness warrior, we don't need to be eating this processed garbage that's making us sick, right? But we do these things on a daily basis that harm us, right? And it takes us so long to see that it's harming us, that by the time the pain is there, by the time that our body is trying to say, hey, stop it, we can't even link it to the thing because we've been doing this for so long, we can't believe it could possibly be this. Why am I so confident that it was that? Because removing it, the pain went away. And I had the unfortunate scenario where I put back something. So I had too much potato. And was it too much? Was it the potato showed me a different problem? Because now I'm eventually learned I have a problem with nightshade. But do you see my point? Is that we're so used to doing these things and we get used to being in pain, and then we are not able to see that these things that we're eating are actually what's causing our problem. And only when we remove them are we able to see that that's what's causing the problem. But then we have this other thing that happens because we remove them, and then it's like, well, is that really true? Is it really true that that's what was causing my problem? Because everybody eats junk food, right? Here's an extra myth for you. Everybody eats junk food. Everybody does this. It's normal. So we have these things that live in the back of our head that push us to do bad behavior, right? Because I took these garbage foods out. I felt better. You'd think I would just leave them out. But no. Let me try a piece of potato. Let me have a piece of strawberry. Right? And what happened? Well, first of all, the strawberries slapped me in the face. It didn't taste good. It tasted like, whoa, that's just sweet to another level. That's disgusting. And the potato put me in pain. Right? So I saw the actual result of what happens when you let yourself eat healthy for a long period of time. And now today, I'm talking to you from a position of having done it for 5 years. 5 years with my ups and downs, with my mistakes, and I'm telling you, yes, it's these foods that are messing with you. Here's number 5. I need to just keep going. Number 5, right? My family's fat, so I'm doomed to be fat, right? There's a genetic component, and I'm just going to be overweight because everybody in my family is, so obviously I'm going to be. Not true, right? I believed that garbage. When I first figured out when I first saw that my hip was hurting me, I blamed it on my weight. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm getting to that part now, right? I'm just going to be fat now and I'm going to be in pain all the time. Well, even more pain because I've been in pain. So my joint issues started. Again, my body was trying to talk to me since I was 23 years old. My body was trying to talk to me. Was I listening? Apparently not, because I kept eating the junk. I kept eating the garbage. So obviously I wasn't listening. So I thought my hip issue was because of my weight, right? But I lost weight despite raising my fat intake, wellness warrior. So going back to the point before, that fat makes you fat. If I'm eating the same amount of energy, because that's what I did at the very beginning, I was eating the same amount of energy, right? I just flipped it. And I'm losing weight. And then, okay, of course you get to a point where now I'm eating less energy because my body starts taking some energy from me. So I will acknowledge, but I lost the first bit of weight eating the same amount of energy. Then I'm eating less energy, and that goes on for quite some time. And then what happens? I have to bring my energy back up because I don't want to keep losing forever, obviously. So I bring my energy back up, and now I'm eating more than I ate when I was trying to lose weight on a standard diet, more than I ate on a normal diet. I'm eating more energy, if you want to use this silly calorie nonsense, and maintaining my weight. I'm eating more fat than ever before and maintaining my weight. Okay, so is it true? It's not true. Number 6, weight and happiness are unrelated. Now, this is one that has really been brought to the front in the last, I would say, 3 years. This idea that weight and happiness, and they're trying to convince us that you can be happy at any size. And, we don't have to be looking and trying to stick to these, to these strict, we shouldn't be aiming at any particular weight, is basically the idea. And I'm going to fight against this one, because as much as I will say, yes, when I was overweight, I was living a happy life. I was not happy with my weight. So first of all, let's be very clear about that. I was happy with my life. I have a great kid, had a great spouse, I have a great family, I have great friends. I was happy with my life. My weight was a constant mental punch in the face because I couldn't figure it out, because everything I tried had failed, because nobody was giving me data that helped me to figure out why it was failing. So, no. My weight and happiness are, first of all, connected, and second of all, not in a happy way. And our body is only as happy as our body is only as healthy as it can be, right? Until it can't manage anymore. So there's a part of this that says, oh, you can be healthy at any size. Yes and no. Your body wants to be healthy, and therefore it fights to be healthy, and therefore it fights to keep you in the best possible position. Is my best possible position with 70 extra pounds on me? No, obviously not. Is my best possible position underweight by 70 pounds? No, obviously not. Underweight or overweight are both bad. So this idea that we can just separate how we feel from we can't do that, first of all, because I'm going to feel a way about either side of that. And here's the stupidity, wellness warrior, because they tell you that, oh, healthy at every size, but then they turn around and tell you that they glorify the people who are at the lower side. They glorify the people who are underweight. And that I don't understand. Right? My weight blocked me from doing things that I wanted to do, right? Because I wasn't happy with how I looked, right? I dressed a certain way, and I feel like I blocked myself from situations where my weight would obviously hinder me, right? Versus now today, I don't block myself from anything. But can I just point out, I still have those old ideas in my head, right? Like the other day, Pat was saying to me, oh, maybe before our vacation, I should say, it wasn't the other day. He was saying, oh, we should get new bathing suits. Maybe you want to get like a 2-piece. And I'm like, I already have a 2-piece. And he's like, oh no, like a 2-piece that's like separated. And I'm like, yeah, that's never going to happen. I still have those ideas that says that if your body doesn't look perfect, if you don't look like a supermodel, if you're not on the lower side, I still have those ideas, Wellness Warrior. Even sitting here at my healthy weight, I still have those ideas. I need us all to understand that these myths, these ideas, these things stay with us even when we are at our good place. And so we need to work on it. We need to know that these myths are pushing our behavior so that we can work on it and fix the things that we want to fix, right? I'm super happy today that I'm doing all the things that I want to do. And I want you to be doing all the things that you want to do, right? And I mean, I can just talk about things I've seen because, you go to an amusement park and someone who's larger tries to go on a ride and then they're embarrassed because they have to leave because they couldn't stay, because they couldn't get the seatbelt thingy on them. These are things that happen every single day. Don't tell me that that's not impacting how that person feels. I know it would impact how I felt if I was ever in that story. I'd probably cry for days. Right? When people judged me for my size, even I was 70 pounds overweight and I was judged, I was unhappy about it. Right? It's important for us to feel comfortable in our skin. It's important for us to be able to do activities that we want to do when we want to do them. It's important for us to be able to enjoy our life. So I disagree with the idea of healthy at any size because it's clearly unhealthy to be super underweight or super overweight. It leads to health complications. It leads to it's not healthy, right? My joint pain, my back pain, the insomnia I lived, the tinnitus that I had, the brain fog that I had, right? Despite the fact that I was still doing most of my activities, so I was still, going cycling and using my boards and all my devices. Like I was still snowboarding and skiing. But I cannot lie and say that it had zero impact on me. First of all, health-wise, it impacted me, as I just said, but also emotionally. Of course, it impacts you. Right? And can I just also add to this? What do we do? So when we're in this standard American diet system, what do we do when we don't feel good? We're trying to say that the emotion and your mental health and weight, like they're separate. They're not. Because when we are upset, what do we think about doing? It still happens to me even till today. Oh, it'd be good to eat that, right? Like for me, it's, nuts come to my mind. I am so annoyed and frustrated when I see myself doing that because I know it's this old idea from way back when that it's okay to self-soothe with food, right? What happens when you have a great day, Wellness Warrior? You still think about celebrating with food, right? We look for any reason, right, to celebrate. And that's another reason that my happiness and my weight, they're connected. But also my displeasure and my weight are connected because I'm going to eat this thing and then I'm going to feel good in the moment. But then I'm going to be like, why did I eat that? I have weight to lose and whatever. And I'm going to start beating myself up. And how often did I do that cycle to myself back when I was eating a standard diet? Back when I was doing a standard weight loss diet, right? You're eating to feel something positive rather than eating to fuel and build your body. But then you end up feeling bad anyway, eventually, right? You feel good in the moment. You feel bad eventually. So our societal problem is that we are constantly focusing on being at a lower end of the weight range for our height rather than focusing on being at the proper weight, right? Because we have this idea that fat, it's ugly, right? It's ugly. We don't want to be fat. And if I'm overweight, I'm not as valuable, right? People aren't going to take me seriously in meetings. And we have all these ideas. I've heard them all. It's going to make me feel bad about myself. And then I'm going to self-soothe. And then I'm going to be mad at myself. and then I'm gonna self-soothe, and then be mad at myself. And it's just a cycle that we are constantly battling with because it isn't about being as thin as possible. We have to change, we have to pull that out, right? Like, this myth has so many pieces that it touches. It's not about being as thin as possible. It's about being at a healthy weight that allows you to enjoy your life, right? And that weight is going to be different for you than it is for me. But what's interesting to me is that your body is going to try its best to get you to that weight if you eat healthy food. It's gonna like work with you and try to get you there because your body always wants you to be in the best possible position. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute, but I wanted to go to number 7, which is on a diet. Being on a diet, is shameful. So we fear anybody knowing that we're dieting. And so what happens is that life is happening and you're going to get invited out to lunch with your colleagues, or with your friends going to invite you somewhere, or like somehow you're going to be invited to a situation and you're going to be in the position where now you have to order your healthy diet, right? The new thing that you're trying to do for yourself because you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to get strong and you're trying all the right things. And there's people around and we order the burger and fries like everybody else. And we don't want people to know that we're dieting. And it's a weird thing because when I was 70 pounds overweight, you did not need to see me eating to know that I should have been eating differently. Like, I can acknowledge that. When I was 70 pounds overweight, it was obvious that I was 70 pounds overweight. Why is it that we're afraid, ashamed to eat on plan when we're out with others? And really, part of it is we don't want to hear the talk, right? If I just eat normally, they're not going to say anything to me, right? And highlight the fact that Violet's on a diet, which highlights the fact that Violet was fat, right? I didn't want that. I'm sure many of you don't want that. But here's the problem. I'm so focused. And again, can we see where your weight and your mental health and your happiness and your emotional stability are connected? I'm so focused on you not commenting on the fact that I'm trying to lose weight because that's going to make me feel bad and that's going to make me feel sad and that's going to make me feel whatever, that I don't actually then turn around and eat the healthy food. And so what happens? I'm chasing probably the next few days, trying to get myself back on track. We're ashamed of taking care of ourselves. That sounds so stupid to say, but I can tell you that I'm saying it out loud because I know it happened to me, right? I did not allow myself to take care of me when there were people around who would judge what I was doing. And so we end up eating off plan, right? We're so focused on what we can't have rather than what we can have, right? All these people that are out. So when they are doing a diet, but even when we're not doing a diet, so this is one of those things that's really weird. We allow ourselves to indulge in certain things at certain times, but then we'll turn around and say those things are not healthy, right? Like, people will have a hamburger with fries, but then turn around and cut the fat off the steak they're eating with supper, right? Even if we say they had a healthy supper with, a steak and maybe some broccoli. Let's say they're going to cut that fat off because, oh my gosh, I can't eat the fat. But for lunch, you had a hamburger with fries. We do things that don't make sense. And we think we're actually helping ourselves, but we're actually doing the opposite, right? Because that fat is much healthier than the bun and those fries. But you ate the bun and you ate those fries, but you're throwing the fat away. And your body is screaming and yelling and right? So for us, when the diet we're doing is healthy keto or carnivore, we get to eat bacon. We get to eat the whole egg. We get to eat the skin on our chicken, the fat on our meat, right? If you focus on what you get to eat, rather than focusing on what you're not getting to eat, how different would all of this feel to you? How different would it be? I feel like this is a good point for me to ask. Can you guys hit the like button? Because I think I'm giving you some really clear insights of why these myths are still rolling around in your head and why they're still harming what you're trying to do today even as you're trying to do healthy things. So just hit that like button for me, please. Thank you very much. We're going to go to number 8 now, which is diets are about giving things up, which I touched just now, but I wanted to go a little bit more into that because I can't have chocolate anymore, or I can never have, insert whatever food that you used to love. That idea that I can never touch that food again, yeah, that messes with people. So let me just tell you how it messed with me. At the beginning of my keto journey, the idea that doing this I'm never going to get to have again caused me to make replacement treats, caused me to be interested in buying keto snacks. Now, luckily for me at that time, there weren't any, so I couldn't buy the keto snacks. And well, the ones I could order online were wow expensive, so I wasn't going to do that. But I could make keto treats, so I did, right? And what happened? I made those keto treats, and what I would notice is that I would make them, I would eat them, I would make them, I would eat them, I would make them. So do you, okay, now I'm saying that, and I want you to think about yourself with, I buy a bag of chips, or I buy a bag of cookies, or I buy it whatever, and I put them in the cupboard, and I eat 1 today, or 2 or 3 today, and then I eat 4 or 5 tomorrow, and then, oh, the bag is empty, I go back to the store, I buy another bag, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I was making them, eating them, or we buy them and eat them. But the problem is that we're eating them like they're food, Wellness Warrior. That's what I was doing. I was eating it like it was food, not a treat, a snack to have once in a blue moon. It was part of my meal plan. The beginning of my keto journey, which is why I say I didn't do it properly, because I know I didn't do it properly. The extra carbohydrate that I was eating in these cookies and cakes and tarts and blah, 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 stuff that I was making that I should not have been making. Because why? Because it's normal, right? It's normal to have snacks. So everybody eats snacks. What are you talking about? Yeah. So when I was about, I don't know, 3 months into my keto journey and only eating things that were under the carb number, at that first period of time, that was, I wasn't really making many replacement foods because I was still trying to learn how to cook keto. So trust me, I went from being a person who didn't eat a vegetable that wasn't a French fry, which is so embarrassing to say out loud. But I went from being that person to being someone who was having vegetables every single meal. So lunch and supper. So each meal I was having vegetables. I need to learn how to cook those vegetables. That first 3 months, I didn't make replacement anythings. I was focused my attention on how do I make meals that I actually be able to eat, because I understood if I was going to do this to heal my hip, I needed to do it long term. So 3 months in, I ate a piece of strawberry, not even the whole thing, a slice of strawberry that Pat gave me. And it was horrible. It was sweeter that it made, when something is so sweet that it makes you want to, that's what it was. That's not the interesting part. Pat and the kids were saying how bland, the strawberries were, they were not sweet. That's what they were saying. And I'm over there dying from that little nibble that I took. And laughingly, I said, I must have got the only sweet one. And I gave it. It was cut in pieces. I gave it to them. They each took a piece and were like, this is not sweet. So what was killing me in sweetness? They were like, it's just as bland as these other ones. These horrible strawberries that they were, right? What's my point? When we are in this thing, we think that we love this thing because we're used to it tasting that way. We're used to it. But the truth is, fast forward to today, I love the food that I eat because it's the food that I eat. I don't eat sweet things. I don't eat cookies. I don't eat replacement anythings. I love the food that I eat, the real food, meat. And if I have some avocado, yay. If I have some olives, yay. If I have a salad, yay. But that's once or twice a week, not every day. And the funny thing is, I don't miss any of it. And I don't think I would have been able to say that. or believe that that would have been my story. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, Violet, do you see a day where you're not eating chocolate and you don't care about eating chocolate? I would have been like, you're nuts. Chocolate is my favorite thing. I don't care. I don't miss it. I haven't had it. I don't try to get it. I don't care. I think when you get healthy, these things, they change, right? Now, another thing that did happen to me, so I'll share this too because I think it's relevant, is that in that same year, I don't remember exactly when it was in the year, but it was months later. So I'm going to maybe say it was 6 months to 7 months into my journey. I went out to supper. Why did we go out to supper? That might help me to remember what it was. Oh, maybe it was in October. Could have been in October. So yeah, so maybe April to October. So I went out. And I had been really good. Again, in that first year, I didn't make many replacement things. So I was really, really just trying to focus on what I'm supposed to eat. And on that day, I had a little piece of potato because they didn't take them off my plate like I asked them to. And it was I had one piece of fried potato. So, I mean, maybe it was the size of 2 French fries, let's say. I ate that. And it tasted meh. That's why I didn't even eat the rest of them. It tasted meh. It was meh, whatever. It wasn't as good as I remembered. It's like, okay. That night, woke up in pain. So, what am I pointing out? We think that we can't give these things up because they're so delicious and yummy. And what we don't realize is that those delicious, yummy things are causing us, first of all, to want to eat the thing. But second of all, pain we don't know about. Pain we don't know about, right? And when I realized that potato caused me pain, it took me a little while because I had to figure it out. But, unfortunately, I ended up having tomato. That did the same thing. So I figured it out eventually that whenever I have these specific kind of vegetables, which are called nightshades, I end up in pain. I was like, that's not worth it to me. And think about that, by the way. The one vegetable that I was always allowing was causing damage and I didn't know. Right? Because the pain was excruciating. I didn't know. Right? Okay. So eventually, when you haven't been triggered for a while, your body is able to then turn around and show you how these things that you're eating are causing problems for you. So I really, I'm not mad. I'm never mad. When I talk about this, the pain I've lived by reintroducing a food, the chasing I've done by reintroducing nuts, I'm never mad about it because sometimes you just need evidence, real evidence that says, wow, it's actually happening. I ate that. I felt that. I ate that. I got out of control. Sometimes you actually need the evidence to show you that this is not pretend. This is not fake. Like you have a problem with this. Now I know I have a problem with that. So let's talk about the 5 things that we need to focus on if we want to, be healthy and all the things, right? And the first and the last on this list are the most important. While the 3 in the middle, I feel like they play a supportive role, right? But I want to bookend this with the most important, which I'm going to start with right now, which is eat healthy food. And that's obvious. And you'd be like, obviously, yes, it's obvious. And yet it so isn't, right? Because we don't actually know what healthy food is. And why don't we know what healthy food is? Because food companies keep labeling things in a way that makes us believe that they're healthy. And then because we are used to companies telling us what's healthy, food companies come along again and say, oh, you're keto? Here's this packaged processed thing that's keto. Here, use this instead of using real food. And honestly, Wellness Warrior, I am shocked, annoyed, frustrated, angry, to see other people on the YouTube pushing these products. This keto, that keto, that. No. Food, meat, vegetables, food. Why are we allowing these companies to come in and do it to us again? And so, number 1, healthy foods are the foods that don't spike your insulin, the foods that provide you with protein and fat, that you need to build your body. That's what healthy foods are. Those healthy foods are typically one ingredient foods, right? What's the makeup of pork chop? It's pork. That's the ingredient. What's the makeup of broccoli? Broccoli. That's the. We need to stop letting these companies come in and sell us packages with processed things in it. Okay, let me talk about why. Processed foods are processed, which means that the company that made this took something that was normal, natural in our environment, transformed it with typically chemicals, sometimes with cooking, and sometimes with other processes that I don't even understand, to make it stay in this package and not spoil. And whatever they're doing to make that happen typically is not good for us. Anything that says keto on it that's not in a freezer and with one ingredient is not keto, in my opinion. Right? And if you actually turn those packages over and look at the carb count, typically for something the size of this, like a teeny little something, you're giving away 4 or 5 grams of carb, sometimes even as high as 7. That's not going to fill me up. That's not going to be a full meal. And so therefore, I'm still going to need to eat. Wellness Warrior, they're trying to pull you back into the same story that they use with diet foods. They're trying to pull you back into the same story that has created the situation where we go into a grocery store and the middle aisles are all things that we should never be eating. And I really want us to see that. Food is one ingredient, right? If you want to combine your ingredients to make it taste a different way, terrific, do that. But each of the things that you're putting in there, you should know what it is and how it's impacting you. And the only way for us to do that is to know each of the things. So please, 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 number 1 is eat healthy food. If it's a cookie, chip, burger, pasta, pizza, all these foods are fun, right? But they give your body very little either nutrition or access to the nutrition. Because yes, when you have a burger patty, that's nutritional. When you wrap it in bread and put all kinds of condiments on it, that's just right, and then eat it beside fries, what you've just done is taken something that might have fueled your body, might have built your body, and you've put it away in storage. We need to understand what's happening. So, rule number 1, eat nutrient-dense food, and your body's going to thank you by repairing the damage, right? And solving your metabolic issues. Okay. So number 2, we're going to drink adequate liquids. And I'm saying this one because most of us don't even realize that our body uses the same signal for thirst as for hunger. And so if every time I get that signal, I go eat food, well, sure. I mean, usually we drink alongside of our meals. But maybe I'm intaking energy that my body wasn't asking for. My body might have been asking for liquids. So it's kind of a twofold benefit here, because if I get into the habit of drinking a little bit of something the first time I feel hungry, I'm going to be able to figure out how much liquids I actually should be drinking, because everybody, again, your intake is going to be different depending on how much you're running around. And so if you're sweating, you're going to need more intake than if you're not sweating. But also, how much talking you're doing, because that also causes you to be thirsty. So again, your actions will determine how much intake you need. And it's important for us to try to figure that out for ourselves. Everybody's different. But I want to make sure that I be clear on this. This is not about trying to drink water instead of eating when you're hungry. This is about recognizing that it's the same signal. And therefore, because I want my body to be healthy and I want it to have the amount of water it needs to do its healthy processes, I'm going to drink. Number 3, get enough sleep. So sleep is one of those things that in our world today, again, companies have kind of got us believing that like we need to be up and at their business at a certain time. And so for some of us, we end up in this trap of not sleeping enough. And so why sleep's important is that it regulates our hormones, first of all, and that's super important. it also helps us to place information. Like when we're sleeping, our mind is doing a lot of important work. And while we're sleeping, our body is doing repairs, right? With all the healthy food that we're going to be eating going forward, it uses that healthy food to do repairs. And so sleep is a really important time for us. And if we're not getting enough, we're not going to get through those REM cycles, right? So our body goes through cycles as we're sleeping. So we need to go through those REM cycles fully. And I believe we're supposed to get like 4 of them per night. So if we go through our sleep cycles properly, our body has the best chance of doing all the things it's trying to do over the night. There's another book that I'm probably going to link below, which I probably should have linked these beforehand, but I didn't. I'm only thinking about it now. There's another book I'm going to link below by Sean Stevenson, talking about like sleep and the fact that we need to be sleeping between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. to get the best benefit out of our sleep. And they've done a lot of science to figure that out. And the only reason that I even believe that science is because there's nothing for us to, they don't benefit from telling us that. Like there's no something for us to purchase. It's just get to bed by 10 o'clock or actually be sleeping by 10 o'clock and try to sleep through 2 a.m. And I think that the fact that there's nothing for them to sell us makes me believe that piece of information even more, because it's just data, right? Like, hey, look what we figured out. And the reason that I think most of us don't get it is because as parents, I'll talk about my story as a parent. By the time I get home, did the homework, like got the kid to bed, it's somewhere between 8 and 9 and maybe even 10 as she got older. And it's like, that's now my point to just relax and do me things. And am I only going to have like an hour for myself before I jump into bed myself? So I feel like a lot of us end up staying up till midnight, 1 o'clock. And then we've missed that window of having been sleeping from 10 to 2. And I am still working on this. I'm not good at it. I'm still working on it. So I think that we need to understand it, first of all, that it's something else that will help us. But it's a supporting role. It's not the be all end all. It's a supporting role. Number 4 is exercise. Exercise helps us to be able to use our bodies the way that we want, right? It's not about weight loss. You can work out and work out and work out as much as you want. But if your body decided to store the energy to keep you safe, it's going to store the energy. If, like me, your body decided to put it in like joints and do an inflammation story, that's what's going to happen. So I love exercise because strength is important, right? Strength helps us to live our daily activities the way we want to live them. So we're able to pick up heavy things. We're able to run up and down the stairs. We're able to stand in the kitchen for a long time to make our meals or whatever we're doing. Like having muscles on us and being strong enough is important, right? We need some strength to do everyday things. But exercise is more about the strength. It's more about the fun, first of all. Do you like working out? Because if you like going to the gym, I envy you. I like doing activities. So that's the other piece of this puzzle, is that exercise is whatever way that you keep your body moving and going, and like you're not letting yourself just sit all day long. You're not letting yourself be still, because our bodies are meant to move, right? Men and women. And I feel like that's another problem. Let's talk about another myth, is that, women shouldn't have muscles. That's garbage. We are both meant to be strong, healthy men and women, right? Because that's what keeps us moving forward, right? There's that research that said that women who have muscle live longer. And I honestly believe it's because it's what we're supposed to be. So I want you to figure out the way to exercise in the way that you will love it, and therefore repeat it. For me, it's things like snowboarding, skiing, which we're coming up on that season right now. Actually, I went with my daughter yesterday or day before yesterday to get her some new snowboard boots. It looks like we have snowboarding on the horizon for this year. But in the summer, we do things like longboarding, bicycling, rollerblading, like scootering. Like we do all the things because it's important to keep moving, right? So I want us to think about the fact that, going back to that first myth that says that I'm lazy and that's why I'm not losing the weight. Can I just point out to you that when I was 70 pounds overweight, I was equally as active. As a matter of fact, I might even say I'm a little bit less active today because I'm making so many videos and like I'm taking time to do this. And so the time that I'm doing this, some of that time I would have been outside riding things and doing stuff. So I'm a little bit less active actually today than I was when I was 70 pounds overweight. It's not what caused my weight loss. It's not even, I don't even see it as contributing to my weight loss, because honestly, I feel like my weight loss and my maintenance has been because I eat healthy all the time. That's what I do, right? When I see those packaged garbage foods, I'm like, no, that's not real. That's not going to help me. You're telling me it's keto. It's not keto. It's not going to help me, right? It's going to take me down a rabbit hole. So yeah, exercise is important. Exercise is encouraged. Everybody should be exercising. It's not about weight loss. And because the healthy food is not only about weight loss. The healthy food is about healing my body. The healthy food is about building the healthiest body possible. So I want you to think about something. Every single time I eat some kind of junk food, I'm building my body with some of that, right? And if I were to consistently, so think about some of these college students that we see that are living on like fast food and junk food because they can't even spare time to cook. And they're just in their kit, they're just studying. And then what kind of bodies are they building during that period of time, right? All that fast food, all that junk food, all those, right? Our young people are building their bodies on these unhealthy things. And then we're surprised when they're sick. We're surprised. I don't know, like in the last 50 years, so I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but I want to say maybe 20 years-ish ago, they actually had to make our children's hospital here in Montreal bigger. They had to make it bigger. That children's hospital was that size for like, I don't even know when it was first built, hundreds, like going back how many years? And we needed to make it bigger in the last 20 years. Why? Because the garbage that we're feeding our children. There's so many sick children. And we have 2 children's hospitals here, by the way. We have we have 2 of them, St. Justine's and we have the Montreal Children's. So, and they made the Montreal Children's gigantic. So I want us to think about what is it that we're doing, right? Because we're doing something wrong. I'm going to be touching the 5th myth right now, which is manage your, this is not the 5th myth. This is the 5th thing you need to do to make yourself healthy, which is manage your stress. This is the bookend, right? First one, eat healthy food. And we're bookending it with manage your stress, because people, work, social interactions, and hobbies can be stressful, right? They can be fun and they can be stressful. So there's good stress and bad stress, right? When you're working on your hobby, you're like trying to put something together and it's tactical and technical and you're like, I got it. It has to be a certain way. And that stress is good because it's motivating, right? But if you're trying to, or even if you have obstacles at work, let's say you have obstacles at work you're trying to overcome. Again, good stress. Working out, excellent stress, right? Debating healthy ideas with your friends and good stress. Versus constantly arguing with your spouse. No, bad stress. Hating your job. Bad. Not enjoying your social life. These are all bad things that lead to high cortisol levels. So let's be clear about something. Working out at the gym, very stressful on the body. Cortisol levels stay nice and low. Fighting with your spouse, cortisol levels go up, right? Not being able to manage like yourself, like you're so inflamed that walking up the stairs is painful and hurt, cortisol levels go up. And we don't want high cortisol levels because that impacts your weight. right? Because your body, in preparation for this fight that seems to be coming, which isn't coming because these are chronic scenarios we're talking about here, is pumping out sugar into the system to allow you to fight the stair climb, which, of course, again, right, you don't need that extra energy. And so we end up gaining weight, right? We become inflamed, which, of course, is a water retention story. We're going to have weight there. And also just this constant sugar in, sugar out, sugar in, because the sugar's going to pump, and then, we didn't need it. It's going to get put away. And when we're in storage mode, oh, no, we start putting away. And then what happens? Bang, you're hungry. Oh, sorry. It's your body is constantly trying to do what's best for you, but we keep putting things in its way. And a stressful life, a life where I'm constantly unhappy, a life where I'm constantly frustrated, and especially if I'm not doing what I need to do to solve. You need to do what you need to do to solve. You need to look at these problems directly. What happens when we're stressed? I remember self-soothe with food, right? And then we're in a worse story. So we're constantly doing things that do not help us to accomplish the goal that we're telling ourselves that we want to accomplish. And if you want your life to look better, then the thing you're going to do is put yourself so you want to set yourself up to solve your problems. That means whether it's directly like with the person, or if the problem is bigger than you know how to solve, go see someone, go talk to someone, right? Do what you need to do so that your life looks the way that you want it to look, because your body actually wants you to be healthy. Your body actually wants you to be at your healthy weight. And if you would give it the food and the conditions that it needs, you would get the results of a happy, healthy body at the right weight, right? Like, can I just point out that for myself, first of all, when I got to goal, I actually fell under the weight that I was comfortable, and I fought my way back up, right? And and for years I was maintaining this, and now I've lost another 5. And it's like I can't seem to put it back on. And there's a question mark in my mind. But again, my body wanting to be at that healthy weight. And remember, when I was just doing the diet and let's see where I end up, I was 5 pounds under where I was comfortable. Is my body still going towards that number even though I'm not comfortable? And so what does that tell us? That your body's going to do what it needs to do. And if it needs to slowly get me there, I guess it's going to slowly get me there, right? But ultimately, I'm eating even more. So again, look at the numbers. I'm eating even more than I was eating before. And my weight still seems to be trying to go in that direction. Your body's going to get you where it needs to get you if you give it the ingredients to get you there. Right? Okay. I hope that this video inspires you to put these myths down, because those myths, they're still living there and they're pushing your behavior. They're pushing your behavior one way or the other, right? And if we let ourselves hear them, we can then put them down and deal with reality, because we all know what the healthy food looks like, and we all know how to do these other things that are going to help us to be on that path to better health. You know what? Most people don't finish what they start, but you guys have made it all the way to this section of the video. So I want to do something. I want to celebrate somebody from these comments. I want you to put it in the comments down below that you're going to do hashtag prioritize health. Put it in the comments, not in the chat. And I'm going to pick a few people, and in a produced video, I'm going to put some people up to celebrate that you guys are awesome for coming here and learning about your health. We're going to make change. I'm going to put something up for you guys to watch to improve your health and to get you, as a matter of fact, I'm going to put something up to help you to understand that fruits are another one of those places where they make us believe all these things that aren't true. I have a video about fruit that you should watch next. Talk to you soon.